Hey guys, I'm going to start off this video real quick with a disclaimer in that there is no installation portion to the beginning of this video. This is more going to be treated as a product review. I did make another video where it's essentially like an install reference guide. It doesn't show the complete install process, but it gives major steps in how to get the installation of this blow-off valve done. So for those of you interested in that aspect, I'm going to go ahead and link that below, along with adding an ending card. And of course, I've also reviewed another blow-off valve in another video, so if you guys want to get, a little bit of variety, please go check out that video. But with that being said, let's jump straight into the most important part, and that's the sound clips of the GFB blow-off valve. The last thing I'm going to demonstrate is just basically what it's like if you don't do the shifting on your own. Person fell asleep. So I'm just going to do one more pass. So if you don't do the shifting on your own and you just let the car do the shifting for you, so you don't hear anything unless you let off on boost. Yeah, when you let off automatic, you'll hear it, but it's not as aggressive because, again, the transmission shifts so fast. You know what? I realized I had the AC on, so I'm going to do one more pass without the AC just in case. Alright, we're at a completely empty park, so we're just gonna, get out of the way of traffic just in case. We're gonna back up into a spot, and I'm just gonna show you real quick what this sounds like on its own. So again, if we put it into park, so for this I'm just gonna show you that you need to be in boost for you to hear the blow-off valve. Forgive the jet flying over. But as you can hear, nothing, right? Because there's no boost, as you can see on the boost gauge. But again, under low boost, it's still pretty loud. It's almost as loud as some of the other ones that I've heard around there. But so again, it's not the loudest. Under boost is where this thing shines, as you heard on the drive-by. So yeah, just wanted to show you guys. Alright, so now that we got that out of the way, I'm going to kind of go over and review and of course give my feedback on the product itself. It's been a few weeks now that I've been daily driving with the GFB Respons blow-off valve, and so as always, the first thing is their attention to detail with the actual packaging. It looks just like this. It's honestly one of the nicer packaging setups. They always have their product in a very nice foam to make sure that it gets protected in shipping and whatnot. Comes with a decal and of course their little instruction manual, which we'll go over in a moment. Of course, the valve isn't in this box as of now, but I'm just showing you so you guys understand the whole experience. You have it like so, and then there's typically a little tab, tells you this side up, and then of course when you open it, which I'm actually just going to slide it out since you can do so, the valve would be here, and then it actually comes with the trumpet right here that you add to the blow-off valve, and that's what I'm going to address next. So first things first, I mentioned this is the Respons model, and I state that because there's actually 4 different products that they sell, and they of course go up in pricing depending on the quality and its functionalities. So this is basically the second to last, essentially the most expensive manual option, and I'll give you right here, the part number is the T9014. And so this is actually a blow valve that fits most of the 2.5 turbo model engines for cars like the Sonata N-Line, the Kia K5 GT, the Hyundai Santa Cruz truck with the 2.5 turbo engine, and of course I'm sure many other models to come with that engine. This also fits some of the N vehicles like the Elantra N, the i30N, and I believe some of the N-Lines because they have the same bolt pattern, or I should say installation base. The box itself actually states that this is for the i30 N-Line sedan, so again, that one of course doesn't come with the 2.0 turbo that the N models comes with, so a lot of compatibility with this product. I mentioned it being the second to last as far as the most expensive side. There's an interim model, which is basically a hybrid blow-off valve, which does, I believe it's a 50-50, 50% recirculation like a bypass valve, and 50% vent to atmosphere. Then there's a full-on bypass valve, which no vent to atmosphere, no sound, but of course definitely a good product if you don't want venting to atmosphere but you want that extra performance gain. And then this one, which is the full out model where you can essentially choose the bias of whether you want it to be a full blow-off valve, if you want it to be full recirculation, a mix somewhere in between. And then of course at the top it has the adjustability screw to adjust the tension for the spring built into the blow-off valve. One of the main reasons why I actually made the whole little quick install guide was because even though you get instructions on how to install this, these images unfortunately do not correspond to the 2.5 turbo engine. These seem to be, much like the box says, the pictures for the i30 N-Line, which I believe is a 1.6 turbo. So if you're watching this video and you have a 2.5 turbo KDM engine in your vehicle, you probably want to skip this entirely, and I would advise checking out that reference guide. Of course, it does tell you how to adjust the sound bias or the ventilation bias, and there's of course a bolt on the top where that allows you to adjust the tension, as you'll see like in some of the pictures. The most expensive model is essentially basically the exact same thing as this, with the biggest difference being that it actually has an electronic motor that goes to a little dial that goes inside the actual cabin of your vehicle, so you can actually adjust the bias of the vent to atmosphere or bypass. Now I did mention that I was going to go over the little stock Trumpet, so one thing is, and this is kind of the biggest disclaimer as far as the install is concerned, and this will primarily apply to the Sonata N-Line and the Kia K5 GT. I'm going to assume it would also apply to the Santa Cruz. As you're going to see in this picture that I'm showing you, I actually chose to not install the trumpets, which is why I have it in front of me. The biggest thing is that, as you can see, so there's this one that comes in the box, then there's this aftermarket option, and I'm actually going to give you the part number right now for those of you interested. It is the 5702. The manual even shows you it. So as you can see, here's a silver one. This is the same thing. The vendor that I actually purchased this from, the whole setup, was actually nice enough to let me know at the time of purchase, and give me the option if I wanted the original silver models or if I wanted the color matched one, which is this, that also has the Go Fast Bits logo on like the lip. I don't know if this will focus in on it. You can kind of see it there. The camera's having a little difficulty focusing on it since it's so small. But it says Go Fast Bits all over the actual trumpet of this. This one makes more of a whistle sound. Not anything similar to the HKS, but it does have kind of like a nice little tune. There's a few videos floating around on YouTube that you can watch if you want to get an idea of what these sound like. This, because of, again, the way the blow-off valve is mounted in the stock location for the 2.5 turbo engines, will not fit at all whatsoever. And to just show you, so this one itself, this is the OE one, as you're going to see in this next image, this one barely fits. The reason why I have it in hand and I didn't choose to install it is because as I was tightening the product itself in the install, This was actually getting smushed up against the actual intercooler, and it was starting to bend some of the fins. I'm pretty sure it wouldn't have damaged anything too severely or caused any major issues. However, I personally did not feel comfortable with it, so I chose to omit this entirely. Did I lose a little bit of the sound profile? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. This is vented in a specific way where you probably got some sort of unique sound profile out of it. But again, the biggest thing for me was making sure that I didn't damage the intercooler itself. And unfortunately, just the way that the setup is for these engines, it just happens to sit so close that these trumpets just kind of rub. Of course, this one won't fit whatsoever at all. So having this installed or not really makes no difference for performance. It really is just a sound profile thing. So if you choose to want to add it, just keep in mind that if you're somebody with a 2.5 platform, a 2.5 turbo platform, you're more than likely gonna get this smushed up against the intercooler itself. But you can remove it completely and you'll just get a very audible air release sound like you saw in the clips before this. With that tidbit out of the way, as far as my review of the overall experience, the quality, and the performance, and I know some of you might scoff and kind of question performance because many people see blow-off valves as a whole means of essentially just creating sound. Instead of recirculating air back into the system, you're just venting it to atmosphere. And while you wouldn't be entirely incorrect on making that assumption, the thing is that once you start tuning more aggressively, for example, adding more boost, whether you're using a piggyback system or a full ECU retune, the actual stock bypass valve or even lower quality aftermarket blow-off valves tend to start to suffer, especially if, for example, they don't have adjustability in the spring that's built in, or if they don't have the ability to swap out the spring tension, as some aftermarket companies give that ability. What ends up happening is that once you have that extra amount of boost, you either have the valve opening too soon under the higher boost pressure, which unfortunately will leak boost, meaning that you're unfortunately not getting all that air pressure into the cylinders to produce the maximum amount of power and of course putting it down to the wheels, or the spring will basically actuate, but unfortunately because of the lack of tension, will not close quickly enough so that you could get back on power, especially for people that do like track driving. As this particular option is one of the most expensive blow-off valves, if you're not planning on aggressively tuning or doing any kind of increased power gains and you're realistically just wanting something that's a little better quality than the OE plastic piece, or you're really mostly interested in just getting that sound, then you may actually want to skip this because, like I said, this is very close to $300. And while GFB does make, like I mentioned, a few other models that are more economically priced, the hybrid model is actually very competitive with a lot of the other blow-off valves in the market. At least for me, when I was trying to buy this in the US, it was very hard to find any vendor that sold the cheaper model. They literally only sold this more expensive, fully adjustable model, which is nice because I prefer that. But again, for those of you guys that are looking for something more affordable or don't have the funds to splurge on a $300 blow-off valve, you may want to steer shy of this. Now, if you are a person that plans on going full bolt-on and you're probably eventually going to use a piggyback system or do a full tune, I would actually recommend going for this. I've always had a bias and stood behind GFB products, and it's primarily just because of how good the quality of the actual features are. So again, there's obviously the fact that you can fully adjust the tension if need be, but the functionality of it, just how quick it responds to open and close to your driving habits, and of course to be able to do that for you when you need it the most. For example, you let off, it'll of course vent, and then the moment you get back on it, the valve itself will close immediately quick to make sure that basically you are able to push boost once again to have power the moment you need it. That in and of itself is huge, especially for, like I said, people that are trying to track the car, or if you're trying to even go down a straight line, if you have increased boost and you just need to shift. And of course, at shift, you have that slight, amount of time where the valve has to open and then of course close once again. So you're back in boost onto the next gear, full power. If you're going to be doing any kind of more aggressive driving, I would actually say that this is the better choice because like I said, just the response time, the sensitivity to be able to do what you need it to do, and of course the fact that you can actually make adjustments if need be is a phenomenal thing. Again, I'm not taking away from other blow-off valves. The other ones do their job and they function as such, and there may actually be other ones that are more affordable that can maintain higher power levels and still work properly. But like I said, just from my point of view and my opinion, GFB has a lot of experience with not just KDM cars, but a lot of other platforms that they support. They've been doing this for quite some time. Typically, some of the parts are higher quality from, you know, manufacturers that have the pedigree, but at the same time, unfortunately, the more expensive the car, also the expectation that the crowd should be able to afford more expensive parts as well, because you're starting to go into more serious territory. For me, GFB makes parts that I highly believe fall into that more serious territory category. So if you're that person that's trying to get the most out of your vehicle experience and, you know, definitely produce more power or get more performance, my opinion is that GFB parts would be the way to go. And I definitely stand behind this particular product, and I would definitely say that it is money well spent. But guys, enough of my ranting. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below. Let me know if you guys have any questions, if I didn't address anything. I know that I, you know, kind of briefly showed you pictures of the options and of course the whole mechanism of how to change the bias on this particular valve. If you have any questions, if you know, like how loud this thing was, if you just like the design, if you're interested in anything that like I said, I couldn't mention or forgot to bring up, please ask away. I'd be more than glad to respond to anything and any way I can help. I'm glad to do. With that being said, guys, that wraps up this video. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching. As always, thanks for all the love and support. Please keep doing you, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye. Guys, I'm clearly filming this as an outtake, but we're in the middle of a heat wave and it is crazy stupid hot. So hope you guys appreciate the content for today.